let's remember that the European explorers landed on the shores of sub-Saharan Africa at the end of the 15th century, and that at their arrival, they surely stumbled upon immense cultural and linguistic diversities, in front of which they essentially had two choices. So when the Cameroonian in our initial scenario introduces himself by saying, "I am from Africa" or "I am an African," he is unconsciously regurgitating the whole Western imperialist and colonialist narratives. When Black Africans identified themselves primarily as Africans and not as Samburu, Maasai, Ashanti, Bambara, or Baka, it is simply because the slave traders first and the colonizers after them found it more convenient and comfortable to call them that way. But if the idea that all the cultures and languages and people of Africa were all equal to one another was initially a Western invention to make slavery and colonialism handier and more manageable task, this idea was paradoxically taken up and forwarded by the same Black activists and politicians whose intention was to quote-unquote liberate all peoples of African descent from the Western colonial yoke. If the expression "we are all Africans" is still very much fashionable and trendy nowadays in all African or Afro-diasporic cycles, it is because of the so-called geopolitical unity in the primary sense of geography and politics of the quote-unquote African peoples against a so-called common enemy.